Just a quick recap of 28 days later. In the Bone Temple, Spike is dragged into a brutal initiation, forcing him to fight for acceptance. Their leader, Jimmy Crystal, watches. Spike trembles as Jimmy invokes his father, Satan, whom he lovingly calls Old Nick, asking him to witness whether this trembling boy deserves a place among them. A knife is shoved into Spike's hand. One of the boys casually knocks it away, turning him into the punchline of the moment. Everyone finds it really funny except Kelly, who watches in uneasy silence. The bullying escalates. But in a sudden, desperate reflex, Spike yanks the knife back and plunges it into the boy's thigh, severing an artery, and the boy bleeds to death. Jimmy Crystal steps forward, calm and almost ceremonial. From now on, his name is Jimmy, he declares. They're all Jimmy here, and he refers to the 7 of them as his 7 fingers. The dead boy's wig is placed onto Spike's head like a crown, and the group marches across the wasteland, casually finishing off stray infected humans as they walk. Elsewhere, deep in the jungle, Dr. Ian drags a corpse from an abandoned train toward his strange sanctuary, a temple constructed from bones. He freezes. The alpha beast stands behind him. Ian raises his dart blower. The creature charges, then hesitates at the sight of the weapon. Calmly, Ian lowers it, coaxing the alpha closer before firing. The sedative seems to weaken him, and he somehow is responsive to him, so Ian names him Samson. The next morning, he prepares another dart for Samson. This time, the alpha approaches more calmly. Ian calls him closer and administers the tranquilizer again. Sitting beside the subdued creature, he wonders aloud whether Samson understands tone and if there is a possible way to reverse the effect of the infection. When he wakes, Samson is next to him, bearing a deer's head like an offering. Ian waves, sits beside him in the rain, chatting freely. Later, he even dances, and astonishingly, Samson mirrors him in his own animalistic way. Jimmy and his crew walk into a house of 3 survivors, an older man, a younger man, and a pregnant woman. Jimmy instructs one of the girls, Jimmia, to entertain them. She dances mockingly. The woman of the house demands to know why they're there. Jimmy claims they're simply enjoying hospitality. When she asks again if they'll leave, he smiles and says they will, after killing them all. Meanwhile, Ian continues his strange routine, unaware he's being watched. Kelly glimpses him from a distance, dancing with an alpha beneath the tree, and stands stunned. Inside a commandeered farmhouse, Jimmy delivers a sermon. Old Nick, he explains, released demons into the world and chose Jimmy as his favored son to rule this broken kingdom. The captured family of 3 sits gagged and bound. Jimmy claims Old Nick also demands charity, sacrifices, and today's offering will be their skin. So the children begin the horrific act of skinning them. Spike can't take the disgusting sight and runs outside to throw up. Kelly finds him, reminding him he cannot avoid this forever. She stays with him, but he cannot return. Night falls at the Bone Temple. Samson sits weakly under the moon while Ian lies beside him. Ian confesses the sedatives will run out in 2 weeks. He has spent nearly 3 decades gathering medicine across continents. Their fragile peace is ending. He produces a lethal injection, whispering that it will grant eternal rest. As he prepares to administer it, Samson suddenly speaks a single word, moon. Ian freezes, stunned into silence. Back at the farmhouse, only the young man remains alive. Jimmy proposes a game. If the man defeats one of them in combat, he may take their place. If he refuses or loses, he dies. So he chooses Jimmia, assuming she's weakest because she is a girl. She disarms him so quickly and wounds him with ease, slicing his hand and dropping him. She is preparing to peel his skin, when suddenly she goes limp. An iron hook has struck her skull. Everyone looks up. The pregnant woman stands revealed in the attic. The wounded man crawls to a gas cylinder, ignites it, and sets one attacker ablaze before an arrow drops him. The pregnant woman leaps from the attic and escapes. Jimmy orders Spike to hunt her down. Spike tracks her to her gate and begs her to take him with her. She punches him hard in the stomach, unlocks the gate, and disappears. Jimmy fumes when Spike returns. Spike claims he killed her in the dark woods but lost the body. Jimmy says he should have brought back her face as proof. Spike breaks down, apologizing. Jimmy tells him to apologize to Old Nick, or risk having his own face peeled. Another boy volunteers to carry out that divine punishment. But Kelly intervenes, suggesting they consult Old Nick himself, because she believes she's seen him. Orange skin, a massive bone temple, dancing with an alpha. The next morning, Jimmy and his crew observe from a distance. After studying Ian, Jimmy declares that this must indeed be Old Nick. Altered perhaps, but unmistakable. Excitement spreads. Jimmy approaches Ian, startling him. He asks directly if he is Old Nick. Ian, confused, denies it until Jimmy clarifies. Satan. Ian explains he's just a doctor. The Bone Temple is a memorial, a graveyard. The orange tint on his skin is iodine, protection against the virus. Jimmy scoffs at the word virus, accusing him of atheism. Old Nick unleashed divine wrath, he insists. Ian recognizes the fanaticism and engages him carefully, asking whether Satan is truly his father. Jimmy admits he mostly hears him in his head. Ian shares fragments of his past with Jimmy. Jimmy remembers the church beside his childhood home. His father, a vicar. When infection spread, Ian believed the church would be sanctuary. Instead, his father led the infected there, and offering his own family first. Charity begins at home, he'd said. That was the last time Jimmy saw him. Jimmy grows impatient. His followers expect an audience with Old Nick. If Ian refuses to play along, Jimmy threatens to disembowel him. Ian, calculating survival, agrees. That night, Jimmy announces that Old Nick will grant them an audience at dawn. There are rules. No one touches him, lest they be struck by flame. No one speaks to him directly, except Jimmy, the favored son. The group nods solemnly. Elsewhere, beneath the moonlight, Ian explains he's forming a theory about the infection. The physical mutation, the rapid cell growth, is well documented. But the violence toward infants, toward harmless children, that suggests something else. A distortion of perception, a kind of psychosis. And psychosis, a doctor would argue, can be treated. He sorts through pills, gently urging Samson to swallow the tablets. Before sunrise, Spike wakes quietly. He gathers his things and attempts to slip away. In the jungle, an infected charges at him. He manages to wrestle it down and finishes it with an arrow through the skull. But his escape doesn't last. One of the boys who despises him ambushes him, blade pressed to his throat. Just as the knife begins to descend, Kelly intervenes, killing the attacker in cold blood. She steps toward Spike and tells him she's searched everywhere. There is no better refuge than this. If he's going to survive, he must stick with her. She hands him back the wig, and together they return. Meanwhile, Samson is by a stream. He washes his hands, noticing how alert he feels. He walks deeper into the jungle and stumbles upon the rusted remains of an old train. He steps inside and sits, which triggers a memory. Once, long ago, he had been a passenger. A conductor approached for his ticket, and then, mid-motion, transformed into one of the infected. Preparing for the encounter ahead, Ian retrieves music equipment and begins arranging the temple for spectacle. By nightfall, Jimmy and his crew arrive, impressed by the eerie beauty of the bone-lit sanctuary. They put on their masks and move toward the center. From behind towering pillars, Ian emerges as music begins to play. He performs a grotesque, hypnotic dance. With controlled bursts, he ignites a circle of fire around them. Powder flares into their eyes, blinding and stunning them. Instead of fear, excitement spreads among Jimmy's followers. Jimmy himself begins to dance, matching Ian's energy. For the finale, Ian lifts a flaming staff, spinning it into a dazzling display. When the performance ends, the children are awestruck. Ian beckons them forward. He commands them to kneel, but singles out Jimmy, calling him his son. Jimmy grins proudly, thanking him for the spectacle. Before leaving, he asks if Old Nick has guidance for them. Ian's gaze lingers on one masked face. He tells Spike to stop. Slowly, he removes the mask, recognition flashing in his eyes. Ian turns back to Jimmy. There is one more commandment: sacrifice. He reminds them that for a god to ascend, even Christ was crucified. Kelly's lips curl into a faint smile as Ian declares that Jimmy, as his only son, must follow the same path. For Old Nick to ascend, Jimmy must be crucified. His own followers must nail him to the cross. Jimmy suddenly drives a blade into Ian's stomach. Chaos erupts. Spike rushes to Ian's side while Jimmy commands the others to kill Kelly. One charges her. She drops him instantly. Another hesitates but attacks anyway. She ends him too. Spike, trembling but resolute, stabs Jimmy. As Ian bleeds out, Kelly realizes the truth. He and Spike knew each other before. There is no Old Nick. Neither was there any Satan. It was just an illusion they created. Kelly tells Spike there's one final act of obedience left. Obey the last command. Jimmy is nailed upside down to a crude cross. He screams that he can't hear his father's voice anymore. In the distance, Samson approaches. He sees Ian's lifeless body and kneels beside him. Ian whispers a final, "Thank you." Then he's gone. Samson carries him away, leaving Jimmy wondering whether it was Satan or his long-lost father. Elsewhere, and on a distant island settlement, a young girl studies a history book about the Second World War. Her father, Jim, sits beside her, guiding her through the lesson. Suddenly, she hears something. They grab their weapons and step into the grasslands. In the distance, a swarm of infected is racing across the terrain, chasing two fleeing figures, Spike and Kelly. The girl asks if they should help. Jim watches carefully for a moment. Then he answers, "Of course." Thanks for watching this quick recap. Please do like and subscribe to encourage my growing channel. See you next time.